Sirens. They've become a familiar sound to the Omaha area this spring, playing an important role in keeping people aware during severe weather.
6 News meteorologist Jade Steffens is on your side with how the sirens work and how you can stay informed the next time they go off.
It's a sound many Midwesterners know well, signaling the threat of tornadoes. They're set off every time there's an active warning anywhere in Douglas County, regardless of if you're located within the current warning area.
When you see those warnings on television, you'll see a red polygon area that shows the risk area. That's not necessarily new technology, but the siren activation technology has not quite kept pace with that. Douglas County is a fairly small county, so a slight deviation in the warning area can impact a lot of people shortly without a lot of notice. So because it's a small county, it makes sense for us to continue to sound the sirens in that way.
In addition to being activated when there's a tornado warning, sirens also sound when there are sustained winds of at least 74 miles per hour.
Each time they sound for 3 minutes, full sounding, where they sound and rotate for 3 minutes. But then it's possible that people will hear multiple soundings if whatever that initial warning was becomes then a confirmed tornado on the ground.
Tornado sirens are only meant for those outdoors, which is why it's so crucial to have multiple ways to get alerts.
Having weather apps that allow you to get that wireless signal, but realize that that too is subject to failure. And then of course the sirens, and they're subject to mechanical challenges. Using a layered approach where you don't just rely on the sirens, but also a weather radio, and any of the alerts that are issued from multiple sources will ensure that you receive that signal regardless.
Taking the appropriate action steps when you get these alerts is just as important. Moving to the safest place possible and having a way to continue to get updates during severe weather. On your side, Jade Steffens, 6 News.
There's been an alarming rise in fatal car crashes in Nebraska the last month. The State Department